Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of The Suited Shootist. And today what I wanted to talk about was I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into the idea of dressing intentionally. It's something that I've talked about quite a bit, and I've delved into it somewhat, but I really want to drive the point home. Before I jump into it real quick, if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you join the Facebook group. There's a bunch of great conversation going on in there specifically about this topic in terms of finding ways to elevate your wardrobe without overdressing and while keeping it authentic so that way you don't feel like you're wearing a costume. And then as well, if you found that you're getting a lot of mileage out of the channel, out of the Facebook group, out of some of my old blogs, the Patreon is live and active. I've recently added a $1 tier as well, so that way it's just going to be the least impactful way for you to just kind of kick the channel a buck every month, and it'd be super awesome if you sign up for that. I really do appreciate all my patron sponsors, and there's a bunch of cool stuff that we do for them as well. So again, just to jump into this, so without further ado, what I'm talking about when I say dressing intentionally is I did the video about dressing up versus dressing well, and it's along that same vein. But I mean, let's look at this. I mean, I'm wearing a pair of Duluth duck canvas chinos, a denim work shirt. It doesn't actually have a collar on it. It's a Mandarin collar, and kind of a military influenced pilot watch. I don't think that anybody would look at this and kind of go, ooh, where are you going? Or what are you dressed up for? The typical, the typical inquiries that you get if you are wearing a jacket and tie when that's not part of your normal ensemble. But everything fits me well. There's not a whole bunch of excess fabric. And this is definitely kind of evocative of old school traditional American workwear. Think factory workers back during like the 40s and 50s kind of deal. Chinos, duck canvas, denim, all that kind of stuff. That's where it originated. And so to steal the archetype from Tanner Guzy, this falls very much into kind of the rugged side of things. This is something that I would not be uncomfortable doing work on my car. I would be uncomfortable doing work out in the yard, but that's just because it's Texas. And even in October, it's still, in the 90s. So I wouldn't necessarily want to sweat in this, but I could very easily do physical work, in something like this. And it's not delicate material. And the whole concept is, what is it that I'm trying to communicate? I mean, again, this is not a formal outfit. It's still very casual. It's very laid back. It is very comfortable. But I'm still put together. I'm not coiffed. I don't have product in my hair, but my beard is trimmed. Not going to go into nails because that's kind of one of my weak points. But everything ties together. The leather of my watch strap is coordinating with the leather of my shoes. With something like this, I'm typically either wearing my cap toes or my chukkas from Thursday boots. Don't have any real affiliation with them. I just like the product. I think it's a good balance of value. So I'll throw some photos of them up here just so you can kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about. And that's the idea is that it's comfortable, but it's not careless. There wasn't a whole lot of active thought that had to go into this, but in the same vein, I still look put together. And that's the idea is that I would be comfortable going to, even out to dinner in something like this. Now, I'm certainly not going to go like a white tablecloth restaurant where there's, white gloved service staff. But dressing intentionally is exactly that. It's simply putting a little bit of thought and care into how your clothing fits. And the other advantage of stuff like this is that for the concealed carrier, workwear is a phenomenal option because it still provides you with a lot of the durability that many of the tactical clothing brands offer, but without being nearly as kind of gang colory. The trope of the 511 tuxedo, where you see the dude in like the tactical the tan tactical pants and the navy blue polo that's got the pen pocket on the sleeve. He looks like he just stepped out of the academy at Quantico, which, if that's the look that you're actively going for because you're trying to communicate a certain degree of capability, cool, that's on you. I think that is generally reserved to folks that actually are carrying a gun under color of authority, because for me, as a civilian defender, I do not want to advertise any of that at all, ever. I want to maintain as much element of surprise as possible. My goal is, I don't want to look like food, and I don't want to look like a challenge. So I want to be somewhere in here. And if I'm dressing the role of somebody who's armed, then the petty criminals that I could probably address with stern language and a knife hand or some good managing unknown contacts, well, I didn't need a gun for them anyways. But if I happen to just hit the jackpot and get that high level predator who is just looking for some practice, I don't feel like being his sparring partner for the day. So that's the idea, is with this intentionality, I am in control of the message that my wardrobe is communicating to the outside world. And in this instance, it's, again, the attention to detail suggests a certain amount of self-respect and personal pride. It's not so delicate that I'm going to, necessarily look like a dandy, but in the same vein, it's well dressed, and that's the goal. So I'd love to hear y'all's impressions on this. What do you do to dress intentionally? What are some things, some steps that you've taken to manage that message that's being put out into the world? I'd love to hear kind of if you have any particular items of clothing, particular tips, tricks, hacks, etc. Put them down in the comments. And aside from that, I hope everybody has a great week. Stay dangerous, stay sharp.